Prices run from $2 a gigabyte to 40. They all use the same three words: residential, rotating, unlimited. They all show a green checkmark next to 100% real devices. And almost none of them let you see the one thing that actually decides whether the proxy works, what is really behind the IP. This video is the checklist I would run before paying any mobile proxy provider a cent, and the specific things the cheap ones hide. I run a hardware proxy farm in Singapore. Real phones, real SIM cards from Singtel, M1 and StarHub sitting on a rack connected to the actual carrier network. Because I run the infrastructure, I know exactly which corners get cut to hit the $2 price point, and I know how to spot them from the outside before you commit. Let us go through it one hidden thing at a time. The first thing cheap providers hide is whether the IP is actually mobile at all. A real mobile proxy comes out of a carrier network, and its autonomous system number, its ASN, is registered as cellular. A lot of budget mobile proxies are data center IPs with a mobile label slapped on the dashboard. The test takes 30 seconds. Route a request through a trial IP to ipinfo.io station and read the type field. If it says cellular, it is real. If it says hosting or ISP, you are buying a data center proxy at a mobile price, and it will fail every fraud check that matters. Singtel runs a 7473, M1 runs AS 38322, StarHub Mobile comes out of AS 45671. A genuine Singapore mobile IP shows one of those with type cellular, anything else is relabeled. The second thing they hide is how many other people are on your IP at the same time. This is the contention ratio, and it is the single biggest difference between a cheap proxy and a good one. A $2 plan puts hundreds of users behind the same handful of IPs. When one of them scrapes aggressively or gets an account banned, that reputation damage lands on you because you share the address. A dedicated mobile proxy gives you a device nobody else is touching. Ask the provider directly, is this IP shared or dedicated? And if shared, how many concurrent users? If they cannot or will not answer, assume it is crowded. The third hidden thing is rotation you cannot control. Cheap providers love the word rotating because rotation lets them recycle a small pool across many customers. But for real work, you usually want the opposite. A sticky session that holds the same IP for several minutes while you finish a login, a checkout, or a multi-step form. Forced rotation every 30 seconds looks like a bot and breaks anything stateful. A serious provider gives you both. Rotate on demand when you want a fresh IP, and a sticky session with a controllable duration when you do not. If the only mode is rotates whenever we feel like it, that is a pool recycling product, not a tool you control. Fourth, the location is often a stretch, sometimes an outright lie. A provider lists Singapore, but the IP is a Singapore registered block routed out of a data center in another country, or a residential IP that geolocates to Singapore in one database and Malaysia in another. If you actually need Singapore for App Store testing, for local pricing, for a Singapore bank payment flow, you need the radio to be on a Singapore carrier, not just an IP that one database thinks is in Singapore. Check the IP across 2 or 3 geolocation sources, not one. Real carrier IPs agree across databases. Stretched ones do not. Fifth, and this is where the cheap price tag actually hides the real cost: bandwidth metering and overages. $2 a gigabyte sounds great until you read how they count gigabytes. Some meter every byte, including failed requests and retries. Some have a low monthly cap and an overage rate 3 times the headline price. Unlimited plans almost always have a fair use throttle that kicks in quietly once you pass a threshold they do not publish. Before you sign up, ask 2 questions. What exactly counts against my bandwidth, and what happens when I hit the cap? A provider that charges per device or per port instead of per gigabyte is often cheaper for real workloads because heavy use does not punish you. Sixth thing they hide: carrier diversity or the lack of it. A lot of mobile proxy networks are actually one carrier or even one cell tower with a pile of SIMs. That is fragile. If that carrier has an outage or that ASN gets flagged, your entire proxy supply dies at once. It also means you cannot test how your target behaves across different networks. A real farm spreads across multiple carriers, in my case Singtel, M1 and StarHub, so you can switch networks, compare behavior, and survive a single carrier problem. Ask which carriers they actually run. If the answer is vague, it is probably one. Seventh, what happens when the connection drops? Mobile proxies reconnect. The SIM re-registers with the tower and the IP can change. A cheap provider hands you a connection string and wishes you luck. A good one gives you a stable endpoint that survives the reconnect, so your code keeps talking to the same gateway even when the underlying IP rotates. Ask how reconnects are handled and whether the endpoint stays constant. If a drop tower connection means you have to fetch a new proxy string every time, that is work you will be doing at 3 in the morning. Eighth, support and replacement, which barely exists at the bottom of the market. When an IP gets blocked by your target, and on a shared cheap pool it will, what is the path to a clean one? A real provider replaces a burned IP or rotates you to a fresh device quickly through a human or an API. A $2 reseller points you at a ticket queue that answers in 4 days, by which time your project is stalled. Before you buy, send one pre-sales question and see how fast and how specifically they answer. The reply you get before they have your money is the best reply you will ever get from them. Ninth, and this is the one that protects you from all the others, insist on proving it before you pay, or at least before you commit to a long plan. A confident provider will let you test the real IP. In those few minutes, you can run every check I just listed. RSN type, geolocation across databases, a sticky session, a real request to your actual target. A provider that will not let you verify the IP is real before you pay is telling you something. The honest ones want you to check, because checking is exactly what makes their product look good next to the relabeled data center crowd. So here is the 10-minute test I would run on any provider before committing. Get a trial or a single IP. 1. Hit IP info, IO/JSON, and confirm type is cellular and the org is a real carrier. 2. Check the same IP on a second and third geolocation database and confirm they agree on the country. 3. Open a sticky session and confirm the IP holds for at least a few minutes without forced rotation. 4. Run your actual workload, your scrape, your login, your checkout, not a generic speed test, because the only result that matters is whether your real task succeeds. 5. Ask one hard support question and time the reply. If a provider passes all 5, the price is fair almost regardless of what it is. If it fails the first one, nothing else matters. The objection I hear is always about price. Why pay more when someone else lists $2 a gigabyte? Because the cheapest proxy per gigabyte is almost never the cheapest proxy per successful request. If half your requests get blocked because the IP is a relabeled data center address on a crowded shared pool, you are paying twice the headline rate in retries, plus the time you burn debugging a problem that was never your code. The real number is not dollars per gigabyte. It is dollars per task that actually completes. A dedicated mobile IP on a real carrier that succeeds the first time is usually cheaper on that number, even when the sticker price is higher. One honest caveat: the right choice depends on what you are doing. If you just need to check that a web page shows Singapore content once, the cheapest shared rotating proxy is fine, and you do not need any of this. The checklist matters when reliability matters, when you are running accounts that get banned, payments that get fraud scored, or scrapes that need to finish. Match the tool to the stakes. For low stakes, buy cheap. For anything that breaks, if the IP is not genuinely what it claims to be, run the 10-minute test first. Let me make this concrete. A customer came to me last month after burning 3 weeks on a $2 plan. He was running 15 retail accounts and could not figure out why they kept getting locked, even though the dashboard showed a Singapore IP every time. We ran the ASN check together in about a minute. The type field said hosting. He had been on relabeled data center IPs the whole time, sitting on a shared pool with who knows how many other people doing who knows what. The accounts were not the problem, the IP class was. He switched to dedicated cellular IPs on real Singtel and M1 SIMs, held sticky sessions through each login instead of rotating mid-flow, and the lockout stopped. Same accounts, same scripts, different proxy. The cheap plan had cost him 3 weeks and 15 warm accounts, which is far more expensive than the price difference ever was. That is the pattern in almost every one of these stories. The proxy looked right on the surface, geolocated to the right city, showed a green light on the dashboard, and failed the one check nobody ran. The 30-second test would have caught it on day one. The whole point is that mobile proxy marketing is designed to make every provider look identical. Because if you cannot tell them apart, you buy on price alone. The 30-second ASN type check, the contention question, and a real trial on your own workload are what cut through that. Run them before you pay, on whoever you are considering, including me. The provider who is confident in the product is the one who tells you to go check.